So you retired early?
Yeah, well, I still carried on making music, but in terms of earning a living from it, it wasn't happening. I lived on borrowed money. I ran up a debt of $600,000, $1 million in that period. And I had no income really, no career really, to ever see a way of being able to pay that back. So it was so scary and so frightening. They were trying to repossess my house. I was trying to convince people that I was bizarre and I had a sofa at home and all the springs had gone and I couldn't afford another one, so I put a big bit of wood across it and had the cushions on top of that and tried to pretend I was eccentric, and I liked it like that. And that's when I met Gemma. So that's what she came into. I had a little 12-inch TV on a stool in the kitchen. So she bought my shopping for the first year we were together because I didn't have any money, couldn't get any money out of it. But it was Gemma that started to introduce me to music that I was very popular, but it just escaped me for some reason. The Depeche Mode album, Songs of Faith and Devotion, which I thought was amazing. 9 Inch Nails, obviously, she introduced me to 9 Inch Nails and what Trent was doing. And much more than that. I've never been very confident, even though in England I've had #1 singles and I've done all right. I've never been very confident, and I've never liked my voice very much, for example, and I know I can't play keyboards or guitar very well. I'll play enough to write songs, but I would never get a job in someone else's band, I don't think, not as a player, not as a crap band. So I've always been really aware of that, aware of my limitations, and I always thought I was lucky to get successful. I didn't think I'd done anything particularly worthy. I thought cars took me 10 minutes. It's all right. It doesn't make you feel like you've done anything special. Do you know what I mean? I know it did well and all that, but it was a piece of piss, man. I went to learn to play bass guitar better. Well, at all. And so I went to London and bought myself a bass guitar called a Shergold modulator. Still got it, actually. Came home, opened the case. I lived at my mum's house. Opened the case, pulled it out. The very first thing I wrote was do-do-do-do. I thought, oh, that sounds all right. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do. Very first thing they wrote. I didn't even do anything and think, oh, that doesn't work. Everything was right. There's only 3 bits in cars. They were the first 3 things I did. So,
if only you could do that every time.
To so much for talent, it was just lucky. I stumbled across it. Same as I stumbled across a synthesizer. I was put into a studio to make my first album, and we were a punk band, a 3-piece punk band. And we were signed as a punk band. I went to the studio to make my first punk album, which should have been what was our live set, effectively. 1,000 songs from the live set. And I get to the studio, walk into the control room, and there's a mini-moog sitting in the corner. I've never seen a real one before, but I'm a bit geeky for technology. So I thought, oh, look at that, one of those dials and switches. And I said to the man, do you mind, can I have a go? And he, okay. I think it was waiting to be collected by a hire company. I can't remember for sure, but it wasn't. I didn't think it was going to be there for very long. So they turned it on, and I pressed a key. Now I didn't know how to set them up, so whatever it was left on, the people before, that's what I pressed. And it was amazing. It was the heaviest, biggest sound I'd ever heard. The whole room shook, vibrating. It just blew me away. Oh, that's for me. I was so happy. And what to do? I didn't. The other thing was, I suppose, it could have been left on one of those sounds that went. Yeah, I could have walked back to being a punk rocker. So luckily for me. And who left it on that? Who was there before that? I'll never know. Changed my life. Totally changed my life. So anyway, so synthesizer doing its thing, and they let me use it all day. So I'm trying to hastily rework these punk songs in a few hours. I think I've got this thing. So instead of now going na 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 na, they're now going and then oh it's rubbish, oh that sounds good. Stick that on something. It was as amateurish as that.
But you learned to twist the knobs. You learned to create your own sounds.
Yeah, but it's a stumbling process.
Well, I think it works for everybody, absolutely everybody. Nobody knew what they were doing. They started twisting knobs. Oh, I like the sound of that. I'll write down these settings and remember those.
Well, they have these things written on them like emphasis, contour, envelope, ADSR. Whoa. I have no idea what
Not
it
as well as in
is.
Japanese.
I was doing interviews with like technology magazines, and they would say, so what do you think about the contour shape of the Mark IV? I go, oh, it's a bit harsh. I'm like, fuck it. I flagged my way through everything for 2 or 3 years. No. It was embarrassing, though.
Hey, you've worked with Abe Fenton for several years now. What was his role on Splinter?
Abe produces the album.
Okay.
When we first started working together, we did an album called Jagged, the one before, the Depression Picture, actually. And on that, it was co-producing, because I still felt that I did a great deal of it myself. And he'd never produced an album before, not normal stuff.
Before Jagged?
No, he'd done his own techno thing, but he'd never done what he calls proper music. I mean, as an infant, that's what he said. And so I was slightly wary. I gave him one song. How it started, he'd done all his techno stuff, which I never liked. And he would come down and play it. It's not for me. And then he brought down some other stuff, which was really heavy, very different. And I saw over a space of about 2 or 3 months how he evolved it. And it was really impressive. And so I was aware that he was learning skills rapidly. So I was working on this previous album. I gave him one song called Scanner, I think. I said, well, off you go with that, and see how you get on. And he came back a week or so later, and it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But I still couldn't quite believe it, because he'd just been this nerdy mate that I knew, from before. So I gave him another one. No, 2 actually, gave him another 2, off you go. And they come back brilliant. So now I'm confident, so we do the whole album together. But I still want to, we'll do it together. Then we did another one, we did a side project actually called Desert Rising a few years back, which he was so involved in that we decided to do it as a co-written thing, because his input was phenomenal. And this is when I was doing the whole depression thing, so I was a nightmare to work with. I kept pulling away from it and not liking it, and being all weird. So when it came time to do Splinter, his production skills have just gone up and up and up. I mean, he is so clever and so creative. And I've been able to step back slightly from trying to get on top of the technology.
How nice for you.
Well, I sort of know it well enough to shape things and put the songs together. And if I really had to, I could do it myself. But he definitely understands it better than me. And he definitely gets more out of it than me. But beyond just understanding the technology, he's very, very creative as well. He does his own writing, he's had his own album out. So. And he brings something to it. We both have very, very similar taste in music. He's been a fan of mine forever, so he really understands my back catalogue on what I do. The way it works is I like to see the children for weekends. So I work Monday to Friday, which sounds a little bit business-like, but it works. So Monday, I go in, I write the melody and get it all worked out. The next day I start fleshing out, maybe Wednesday as well. Thursday I do a gobbledygook vocal with no lyrics, just singing noises and things that come together. And then start working the lyrics themselves. Friday, if it's gone well, finish the lyrics, do the vocal, send it to Aid. So that's kind of how it works. He then gets it in England, and then he starts producing it and doing all these things. But he will then take it in different directions. There's a song in the album called Here in the Black. We had 32 different versions of that song before we finished it. At one point, I think I had 8 different choruses all stacked up. I couldn't pick the one. I kept thinking it must be better. And that's where he's brilliant, because he'll come in and he'll be like a sounding board.
That's what a producer does.
But more than that, he will take things, and he will take a song in a completely different direction at times. which at times is annoying. You know?
You have some say-so there.
Yeah, and I've learned now to let that go. You know, but before I'd have just said, no, that's not what I sent you. You know, polish what I send you. Don't go off in these little tangents because it just wastes time.
But you've learned to trust the
Yeah,
judge's
now I know
judgment.
that not to do that. Leave it for a week. Don't react initially because you know it can be a bit hostile. But let it go for a week. You know, sometimes it still is wrong for me, and we'll bring it back. Other times it isn't, and then it'll come back to me, and that'll take me in a different direction. So it allows these things to develop in a way that they probably wouldn't have done before. And I'm less of a control freak than I used to be, and I think that's been helpful to allow these other things, to allow these other clever people to have a say in what you do. But there's a point when it stops feeling like yours. So it's very important to keep it within that. And that's what didn't happen with Dead Sun Rising. With Dead Sun Rising, it got so far. I said, look, this isn't just me anymore. This is as much you. So we had it as a joint thing. It went out as Gary Numan, unfortunately. That's because I didn't want to put his name on it for some reason. But it was a joint project.
You say it's been 7 albums.